Everyone, I am so excited to welcome one of my favorite Shine people. His name is Mark Daugherty. He's a grad of Shine. He's an experienced working actor in LA, a producer, and the co-owner of the Actors Collective. So without further ado, I'm going to ask Mark our first question. And that is, Mark, how did you start and how did you know acting was for you?
Oh gosh. So church plays, of course. And probably even before that, I made my entire family watch my puppet shows from behind the couch, or we would like reenact Adventures in Odyssey, if I'm showing my age with that. Christian audio series and, 80s, 90s. So I was always acting, and it's like the one thing I've ever wanted to do. And I really didn't have aspirations to be a firefighter or anything like that, when I was very young. And I just did a lot of church plays, honestly. Any time I could get on stage, I would do it. And then, believe it or not, we actually were on a camping trip. It's like 2003, and I heard an ad on the radio for Shine, and I begged my parents to let me go, and we did. And Carrie's brother, I guess, found me in Grand Rapids, Michigan at the Amway Grand. So that's how it all kind of started, truthfully. And I just did a lot of theater.
I love that. Born a performer.
Yeah. Grocery aisles, anywhere.
The best. So not me. I'm not a performer.
This is the opposite.
How has your performer journey been? Slow or hard, easy? How would you describe it so far?
So I would say this, looking at it like pre-LA and post-LA. I think pre-LA, before moving to LA, I got representation pretty soon after my time at Shine. I'm actually still represented by the same agent, Melissa Berger-Brennan at CESD. So she found me and like John Shea and all of them at Shine a long time ago. So from then on, it actually was pretty busy. But I did stay. I finished high school. I went to college for a year. So every couple months, I go out to Chicago, Detroit, or send in self-tapes. So it was actually pretty consistent that way. And I did as much as I could in my local market. Then getting to LA, I don't know if this is a segue or not, but like I moved here in like 2008. So I moved here right when the recession hit, right when the writer's strike happened. Irony of ironies, it kind of feels a small part like we are in right now. So I was able to book a couple jobs, and I booked actually a lot of jobs before everything really kind of grinded to a halt. So that was a little slow, but I would say more than anything, I've been very fortunate for it to be consistent, and not really having any dry spells of any big significance of time. Because I think I've just changed my expectations, I guess is the best way of putting it, to being able to be a business person, to be able to have health insurance through the union or my pension. That to me is a win. And so being consistent has been key to that.
What do you think has contributed to that no dry spells? Because I know that's a big thing actors struggle with.
I would say this, I am represented, I started in print, so I actually didn't start, I still consider that acting, but because I think acting is the root of everything that we do in every medium. But I started doing print, I did theater, I've done TV, I've done film, I do voiceover. So I really feel that being able to do as much as I can, and I didn't do all of that at once, and I didn't get agents for each of those sectors at once, but I worked my way up to it. So I think that's been really key, I guess, for me.
That makes a lot of sense. I want to know what your first major TV set experience was like your first real job, big job.
A mess. No, it was great. I was so nervous. It was my first audition, and I booked it. So my first audition with my agent for television, and I booked it, and I was at Paramount, and I had my own trailer, and I had fittings, and I was just shocked. And I got onto set, and like, wow, I had maybe done like an independent film back home, and I'd done a lot of industrials and print and commercial work. But being on a network TV set was so fast, and I didn't know how to hit my mark. And by hitting your mark. That's like a tape mark on the ground in your rehearsals, because all the cameras do not autofocus to you. So everything has been measured. The lighting guy, the sound guy, everything is all coordinated for you to hit this one spot, to say this one line. And for the life of me, I had no idea what I was doing, and I got cut out. I don't know if
Wow.
that was because of that, but I think the plot line that they were kind of going for in television, a lot of stuff gets trimmed down to accommodate for commercial breaks. So
How did you recover from that? Like, what was the like, okay, I did not know what I was doing. What was the next step?
yeah, a lot of questioning, thinking that, especially when you move here, you know, you think like, I can do it, I can do anything. And then be like, I gotta get into a class, or I gotta find some way of kind of finding my legs with it. And I think in terms of recovery, the biggest thing was like, you know, my family told everybody that, you know, Mark moved to LA and he's already on TV, and everybody went to watch it and I was nowhere to be found. So that was very, a good eye opener right out the gate, to know that like nothing is guaranteed. I don't tell people that I book a job until I'm in my trailer. Even then, now with NDAs, you can't even say that. So even when things for television, I usually don't talk about it until it happens. And then once it airs on the East Coast, and so I'm on the West Coast and I know that I made it, I'm like, oh, watch this. So that's been a lifelong thing that I guess I've inherited from that.
That's like so good. The best way to learn something is to live it, usually, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So along those lines, what was it like on Captain Marvel specifically? Because I love that movie. I'm a total Marvel nerd. But then like just a big film set, what's that like?
So so I had done The Amazing Spider-Man with Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone, and kind of like that process, I had no idea what was happening. I think for Spider-Man, I auditioned for an untitled teen adventure movie, and then I didn't hear anything for 6 months. And then I ended up working a week in LA, I worked a week in New York. So I had kind of found some legs with that then. This one, it was truth be told, it was a direct call. My manager sent in just my materials, and I actually ended up being the pre-production body mold for all the Skrulls. So the whole breed of Skrulls that I was is all based on my body form. So I actually was in production for about a year to a year and a half, and that ranged from going to optometrists to get fitted for contacts, going to dental, a lot of orthodontic appointments to get my whole teeth apparatus. I had like every iteration of it in my mouth. It was crazy. So that, I guess, was the biggest learning process, to be part of that pre-production phase and going into the camera testing and things like that. I didn't even know if I had the job. They just needed to know if I could handle getting all that prosthetic work on. So it was just a really big learning experience. And then filming it and going in and out of makeup and getting there at like, 3, 4 in the morning to get in. I had only done one other prosthetic job for Grey's Anatomy, and that was pretty intense too. But this was like full body prosthetics. It was crazy. I have so much respect.
That is so, wow. I didn't even know any of that. That's so cool.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of switching gears here. I want to know, Scroll, that's a whole nother thing, but can you speak to diversity in the TV film industry in your experience, alien races aside?
Alien races aside.
What would you like aspiring actors to know who are, just trying to do this? And
I would say, I think we're in an incredible time. I think so much more is being written. I can say auditioning, I counted the other day, I was auditioning in LA probably for like 4 years before I even moved here. So I've been auditioning in LA for like 16 years, and oddly stayed in a very narrow age bracket for a big bulk of that. So I can say I have never gotten the opportunity to read for the love interest or the boyfriend or anybody to that extent up until like maybe 2-3 years ago. And even now, like a year, in the last year pre-COVID, I would say even with more frequency. So I think there's a lot of opportunity. I think there's a lot more work that needs to be done, because I think the people who are writing our story have to be like us and have our life experiences so that they can add some voice to that. So I still think we've made huge strides, and I'm excited to see that we're going to make a lot more. So, but I would say more than anything, I think just getting the opportunity to be more than the best friend has been really cool.
That's a huge loaded issue, but I'm excited to hear that you think it's getting better. Hopefully it'll keep getting better and better, and more filmmakers, diverse filmmakers will also get involved, and writers.
That's the exciting part to know. And you know, so much history even right now is unfolding in front of us. It's going to affect storytelling just for the next couple of years. So it's just very fascinating to be, I guess, in this sector of business amidst this time. So
yeah, and with so much impact on the way things are believed and portrayed too.
Absolutely.
So you mentioned that you booked in a very specific age bracket, and I think it's a younger age bracket than you are. I know this is a huge subject, but can you give just a little advice on how you figured out your brand, your types, and your booking age range, like just that whole huge subject?
Yeah, my brands, my types, my booking age range. I would say, well, thinking about it, you know, I moved here 12, 13 years ago. Things are a lot different. So the industry kind of defined my type and my brand and my age range. So I would say, this is what I'll say from a practical standpoint. And we kind of, I know there's another question that Glynis and I talked about beforehand, but I think what you can do practically, let's talk about practical tips. You as an actor, when you go to submit for a ton of different roles, I think cast your net pretty wide, but be realistic. But then from that point, submit for like 4 to 6 weeks, take a step back, look at the bulk and the meat of what you got called in for. It will tell you. So data will tell you. And I'm a big believer in being a businessman and having data and things like that to make sound decisions. So that's how I weighed it. And being such a narrow type, you know, over a decade ago, there really was only kind of one thing for me. Now, like, I'm really excited to play young 20s in college. And I had a beer on TV for American Horror Story. I got to chug that. So that was a first.
Love that. College, Mark, you're in college.
I was a fledgling frat guy and then I died. So that was cool. So that's, you know, the industry will just kind of follow you. And you know, I have a really great, incredible set of agents and managers, and they go in and they ask, and, you know, relationships that I've had over the last 10 years, people who know me, they will very lovingly say, like, I don't think Mark is a true 16 anymore. And that's totally fine.
That's awesome.
That's something I relish and I enjoy, and I think that should be celebrated. And I think being a business owner that works with actors, we film self-tapes here, and I see so much anxiety about the process of aging. And my partner Brad and I, driving in, we're talking about, like, these tropes that we think of Hollywood about plastic surgery and all these things. Are they true? And I used to always adamantly defend LA and Hollywood, saying, like, it's not like that. Everyone's really cool and chill and authentic. But I also have to acknowledge that there is a big push for youth. And I think age should be celebrated, and it should be done gracefully. And I see so many people fighting it like the plague, and it affects their work. So even now, like, would I play a teenager? I don't know. Who knows? You know, I think my life experiences have really changed, obviously within the last, 3 months, but within the last, 2 years. So yeah, that was windy.
That's really good advice. I think that I'm also into the testing thing. You don't know if something's going to work until you try it. So that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
How do you decide which auditions to try? Like, how do you pick? Is there anything that you don't like, that you decide, oh, that's not the thing?
Like a hard pass? Yeah, for sure. There's definitely hard passes for me. And that's things that I actually think that going through Shine at such a young age, at my early teens, it was Stephanie Duke really drilled that home about having boundaries and knowing right away before you even enter the industry what you're going to do and what you're not going to do. So I think I had those, but I also had the grace to know that those will change. And I think knowing that they'll change, and also knowing that I'm a business person too. So I actually don't like that question, because I usually generally don't say no unless it's something on my hard pass list, obviously. But I think we if we want to say from like maybe even like a faith-based performer aspect, I think I'm called to be a storyteller, and some of the stories that I tell may make people uncomfortable. It may be hard to acknowledge, but I think that is something that we're called to do. So I don't think sugarcoating it or saying, no, I'll never do a scene with a cigarette is sound for me and my career and my walk. But like, I was in a Christian movie about Rachel Scott at Columbine, and I was a chain smoker in it because that's historically what this guy was, who it was based off of. So I've just heard some performers in the past say I would never do a scene of cigarettes or something like that. I would just really challenge them to say, it's about honoring the work too, and honoring the work that my agent's done, that my manager has done, the countless hours that they've worked for free for me without a commission to get me this appointment. And I think that's the biggest thing that I would say.
Golly, that's good advice. I've seen a lot of people say no for things that maybe they shouldn't have, because it wasn't a good, values-based decision. So how do you know you have great representation? How do you know if an agent or manager is a good one? How do you get one? When do you need one? And what do you do if you don't have a good one?
I love it. So first, I'll say I'm a big believer in sticking with the people that believed in you, who when you had nothing. My agent, I'm still with the same agent. I had no TV credits, and I'm still with them over a decade later. So I'm a big believer in just consistency with your team, because they know you. Everything that my reps send me fits me really, really well. Nothing I'm like, what? Nothing that's totally left field, but they'll still push to get me in as many doors as they can. So I think, again, let's look at this in our local market versus LA. For me in LA, I actually don't think it is, I know it's a struggle to get an agent, and there's a lot more of a further conversation that could encompass hours and hours and hours about union status, and if that means an agent will sign you and all of that. But I don't think it is as hard to get an agent if you are in LA, because there is a lot, right? If you're in your local market, there may only be two. Because I'm from a local market, and that's how I started. There was like two. That was it. So I would say in LA, I would make sure that my agent or manager doesn't have a ton of conflicting types or types that would be right in the same bracket as me, right? If there's somebody my size, my credits, the carbon copy of me, and this agent wanted both of them, I don't know, that's your call. I probably would say no. So that's something really specific. And like I said, since there's a lot of agents here, you want to go with the person that is the most excited about you. The person that will dare to answer or to pick up the phone and call casting and ask them to go on a limb for you, right? I think with that, you have to be an actor before you even get an agent to know that I have the tools readily available so that my agent can pick up the phone. I think so often we get with an agent and it's like dating, it's hot and steamy, we're really into each other, but then it's like, yo homie, I need this headshot and I need this skill clip and I need a clip of you for a 1 hour procedural drama. What do you have? And you're like, oh, all my comedy, I only have comedy character shots and I only have like multi-camera footage on my demo reel, and I don't have a self-tape that I could send you that would show you. Like, if you are lacking the tools, I don't think it's time to get an agent yet, because it's just like dating. You're hot and heavy after the first date, and then you're saying, oh, I'll go on a second date later and later and later, and we're gonna lose interest. I'm not saying that everyone will, but I'm saying if someone's gonna sign you, they're ready to do some damage now, and they're signing you because they know they can make their commission off of the work that they get for you. And it's a business decision. So you'll know in your gut, and you'll know when somebody's blowing smoke up your butt. If you're in your local market, I will say the thing about conflicting types, I would say be less worried about that one, because in the agency I was with in the Midwest, they had like anybody who's an actor in the Midwest is probably going to be signed by them. And so they had a lot of types. So I wouldn't be necessarily worried about that. I would be more worried about them making you pay for like an internal like booking software website. I've seen that happen a lot, and it's like this, you have to pay them like an administrative fee. Why? That's not my problem. Like it's your problem, but they should be in business to do what they do, and they shouldn't have to have actors compensate for their bookkeeping or their clerical stuff. So I've seen that happen in the local market. So that would be my biggest red flag about that. And then I think somebody who's just very honest about the work that they have or the work that's coming through. Nobody can predict anything, but if in your local market and someone's going to promise you the moon, but they only get industrials, and you want to be in a blockbuster film, why would you, like, something's wrong, right? So I would say expectations for locally.
That's great advice, Mark. Thank you for that so much. So how do you get better? How do you develop your talent? Like, what do you do that helps you stay focused and improving?
Yeah, I can tell you 1000%. It's been very easy for me to stay engaged every day because I own an acting studio and I own a self-taping studio. So I'm cold reading up to 20 times a day, every day. Right now, it's obviously not that right now because we've cut all of our volume, but that has helped me as an actor. It's taught me to honor my gut, and it's helped me honor my gut instinct and not question it. I mean, I think cold reading is the best thing that you can do every single day. I don't care if you're picking up the newspaper and you're reading out loud a book. Those of you who know me know I say this every single time I talk, but I think it is so beneficial for you to process information and to actually listen. Because you'd be shocked how many actors just don't listen as they're acting, but also in life because we're too excited about the audition that we didn't read the minute details about location, and that's actually on the other side of town, and even auditioned earlier that day in the Valley. You can tell this happened to me, so.
What do you think, like, is that bridge that enables an inspiring actor to, like, make that jump to, working actor? People are always asking that question, how do I start? How do I start? So what's like the...
I would say the non-romantic version is, again, I kind of don't like that question because you're an actor when you say you're an actor, right? And I think for me, what was so terrifying is I was on television. I aired on Grey's Anatomy, and then I'm offering a bloomin' onion to somebody, and they're like, "Were you on?" I was like, "Yeah. Do you need a refill?" And I was like, that was such a blow to my ego. And then I realized that doesn't make me not a professional. That doesn't make me an actor, right? So I think just changing our mindset, right? There are actors I see here every day. I can't say who they are, but you all know who they are. And they have been on TV for years, and now they can't get a job. And that's the reality of it. But that doesn't make them not a professional, right? So even if you are an accountant and you're working 9 to 5, and you are also sending in a self-tape on the weekend, I still say you're a working professional actor. And I think that's the biggest mindset shift for me that allowed me to really kind of step into the next phase of my maturity as an actor and as a professional.
I want to hear, we're going to talk way more about your business just because I think it's amazing. But I want to know some of the other ways you work behind the camera, like, and how did they help you? Because I feel like a lot of people are interested not just in being an actor, also working in the very other part of Hollywood.
Yeah, definitely. So I moved here and I jumped into casting. I found a listing somewhere, and it was with the late Dan Velez, and he was so great, and Sherry Henderson, and they own Dream Big Casting, and Sherry still does. So that was first and foremost, that was paramount, because I instantly came in and I wanted to know, fine, I to the extent I'm working in my local markets, and that was Chicago and Detroit and Midwest. So I want to know what is different here. How did the people here get the job? How did the people here get the audition? And I can say first and foremost that was paramount to my success, because I immediately wet behind the ears. I just got off the boat here. I literally could see what was happening, and I could see everyone's headshot, and I could see what was working, what was not working. I got to be that person that turned on the camera and turned off the camera, right, or answered the phone. But I could see all these things real time, and I was very fortunate and blessed to work with such gracious people who, Dan and Sherry, they both shared such wisdom with me, and they sat me down at the end of my time with them and gave me some consults and pointed me in the right direction. But that helped me know how to work with my agent, how to work with my manager, knowing what their job is, knowing what tools I need to provide them so that they can pick up the phone and call the people that I was working for, which was casting, right? From then on, I assisted a talent manager, and that really helped me realize all the business and the bookkeeping and the financial aspect of it, and how important that is. And it also reinforced, again, like, what tools are you giving your team, right? And I think so many people think that they're going to get an agent and get auditions right away, but some people sign you when you still need a lot of development and you need to get a new headshot shoot. My agents did that with me, and I'm very fortunate to be here today. But those are the two biggest things that's really helped me. And being a producer, it helped me with all the legalities. It helped me know how to operate a set. I was able to produce a couple projects, and that was massively eye-opening to know that, like, there's so many more decisions that go into it outside of just working in the casting world. In television, there's actor, manager, agent, casting, producer, studio head, and then network head. So there are a ton of positions that you just need to be learned on.
That is so great. The thing about the headshots, I feel that you must have good photos, but everyone says it. Like, some people say, oh, don't spend a lot on photos, and sure, okay, but they still have to be great. They have to be so great.
Yeah.
So you've spoken a good bit about this. I might be breaking up, but in yourself and other, I'm unstable. Mark, can you hear me okay?
I can.
All right. You've talked about this a good bit in amazing ways, but what habits have you seen breed success in other actors? What have you seen that causes, washout or burnout? Like, what are some good and bad things?
I think this career should be fun. And I think when people lose sight of that and take themselves too seriously, it's exhausting. Because I've done it as an actor, and I experienced that with the business that we have too. And if I could tell everybody, auditioning shouldn't feel painstaking. It shouldn't feel like we're cracking Pandora's box or finding some mythical code or a certain calibration of mechanics. Like, this should be fun. And we get to step in somebody else's skin, and we get to step out of it, and we get to go back to our car and on with our life. And I think we really should allow ourselves to have that sensibility of turning it on and turning it off, not from a place of acting technique, but from a place of, like, being a human being. I don't have to be actor all the time. I'm not saying that's not who I am, but I can also be equal parts Mark and show up for my friends. And that's something that I really neglected. And I failed a lot as a friend and as an actor and as a client or as a business owner. And I think just being able to laugh is I think the best medicine, I guess. And that alleviates burnout.
I love that answer. Can you tell us now a bit more about the Actors Collective? Like, I think that's so cool that you're also an entrepreneur, how it came to be, and sort of what your goals are with.
Yeah. So how did that come to be? So I never, listen guys, I went to college for musical theater, and then I stopped and I moved to LA, and I don't have a bachelor's. I don't have a business degree, and I never ever imagined myself an entrepreneur or business person, but I think it kind of just came to be. And I actually had a business in my early 20s. I was a pet care guy, and so we had a team of dog walkers and pet sitters that I did for a while. So I guess I just have always been that way. But more than anything, I own the Actors Collective with my partner Brad, and our biggest belief is that actors should have affordable resources. Like I said, those tools that are so dire for everybody, yes, there will be a time and there will be a place for you to spend $800 on your headshots, but if you just got here, I wouldn't advise it. You don't even know yet what Los Angeles sees you as in terms of our industry, right? Are you quirky best friend? Are you these things? I moved here and I shot with a pretty well-known photographer right away. Didn't know what I was doing. And I had these crazy character types, things that like Mark Daugherty will never play, right? And I followed the gamut of them, and then I signed with my agent, who I'm still with now, and they're like, so we don't like any of your headshots, we'll still use them, but we need you to reshoot. And I was like devastated because I just spent all this money. So we really believe that actors should have the ability to have affordable, high quality resources. And I got really exhausted by seeing other affordable resources, but why does affordability have to sacrifice quality? And I think for us, that was the big question mark. And we wanted to provide a solution and a business model that would give us the ability to trim the fat of our expenses and be able to offer a high quality product at a really fraction of the cost. So that was really the impetus behind it. And we started running a theater on Santa Monica Boulevard, the Complex Theater. I paid it for 3 hours every Saturday. And massive kudos to them. And we just told a couple people and it kind of grew from there. And then we have evolved to having 2 locations. So that started in 2016 and it went from classes to coaching to headshots to self-taping and then demo reels. And we just grew each tier of our business as we went. And I think that was successful because we got to be masters of something before we added something else onto the plate.
It sounds like it's just successful because you genuinely want to help people. Like you clearly really are trying to help other actors.
Yeah, and I know that sounds hokey, but
what
I think it's true. That's where my partner.
Not. It's beautiful. You've spoken to this some, but what are some other direct or unexpected benefits of owning your own industry-related business?
Well, I always know it's casting. Always. I would say it is, I feel like I get to just be in acting class all day. And I get to hold a really interesting perspective as a self-taping studio because we get to see this same role multiple times. And that's something really interesting to see how people process information and the choices that they make. So I think that has just been a wellspring of knowledge for me as an educator, as an acting coach, but also as an actor. And it's really expanded my Rolodex of industry people. Not that I call on them, but just knowing that there are good human beings at places like Innovative or big agencies where we put them on such a pedestal and we make them out to be a god in our mind or a deity, and it's not. They're just like a dude at a computer, and you're just a dude who's saying some words that somebody else on the computer wrote. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of killed that veil, and it's ripped that away, and it's really let me see people as human beings. I think that's the coolest part of it.
That's a really big part, the God complex thing, like that people are so high above you, but they're not. Amazing. How do you juggle acting auditions and jobs with owning your own business?
Let me tell you, okay. By the grace of God, in over a decade here, and I was a server and a dog walker and a barista, and I worked at Pinkberry all at the same time, okay? And I was auditioning multiple times a week, and somehow I never lied and I never called out of a shift. I made it happen, and that's been my mindset. Come hell or high water, Mark Daugherty will be there on time and I'll figure it out, right? And I have that track record with my representation. So we kind of had the same mindset with the Actors Collective, and we were able to build it up where we have a team of 10 people that help us. Now with COVID, it's just down to Brad and I, and it's very interesting to kind of go back to square one with it. It's kind of cool. So it's been I couldn't have done it unless I was this age and been able to have the career that I've had. It's helped me realize that everything isn't level 10 emergency, I guess. And I've learned how to allocate time. And I think allocation of time, even though I failed a heck of a lot at it, I think that's how I've juggled it all. And I'm very ADD, as you can tell. So I can flip my brain into a lot of different mindsets at once. So I can take off one hat and put it on seamlessly. But when I'm an actor, I get to be an actor, and I turn off my phone. And that's my audition, and then I turn it back on, and then I answer a million emails, and I race into the valley from Hollywood trying to get to my next appointment on time.
That's so awesome. That sounds about right. It's also like me being a mom and a business owner and a photographer. That's a lot. We all do it. Everybody juggles stuff. So I love what you said. If anyone can learn anything from you, it's honor your commitments. I love that. It's just everything. And answer the phone.
Yeah.
So this is like very now question, but how do you see the acting industry weathering this storm? Like, is filming going again? I think a lot of people who are like, what's going on? Like, should I still pursue it right now? Or like, how should I work now on?
So I would say now is the coolest time to be an actor, because you really can just go to a callback in your living room. In March, I had a second callback in my living room for a PlayStation job. And then once we were able to go back to work here in LA with safety measures per the union and the health department, I had a job waiting for me. So I think that was really cool, and I could do it from my living room, and the entire team was in London. And I think we've opened up technology so much. Yesterday, I did a final test. A test is the last round for a television show if you're going to be a series regular. I did that right where I'm sitting in our self-tape studio, and we did it for our client on Zoom. And the whole team from this network was right over here, and it was crazy. So I think it's now a time more than ever to do it, because we have so much more grace about your video quality and your setup. And if your dog barks, just get your material in. I'm not saying don't have good quality things, but like, listen, we're doing the best that we can, right? And I'm a firm believer in that and having grace with that. So I think you have way more of an opportunity now more than ever to do that. Just pragmatically on a business standpoint, I think that the union is set out some very stringent rules. My partner, Brad, is a health and safety officer for production now. So that's really helped us. So I think regardless of the conversation, I think Los Angeles is, this is our industry here. So it will go back and life will go on. We made it through the writer's strike. I think there is some acknowledgement to know that it will be different, but I'm taping everything every day. TV shows that you guys know, they're slowly starting to audition, crossing our fingers and toes that in September or sometime when we're clear that we can go back to work. So things are happening. I talked to an agent, they booked a lot of clients on like a Facebook commercial, and they booked that from their living room on Zoom, and production mailed them the equipment, and someone hopped on Zoom and taught them how to set it up, and then they did it themselves, and they're in a new commercial. So I think, and now more than ever, the last thing I'll say is that you have such an opportunity to learn from people that you never would have gotten the opportunity to before, where their format didn't really allow them to go virtual, but we've now had to pivot, the word of 2020, and make it happen. So you can study, I'm sure, with somebody from like BADA in the UK, or I'm sure you can study with some big scene study studio in New York. So I think this is a really cool thing, and you could be in Idaho. And I think that's a really cool opportunity.
My internet connection says it's unstable. Speaking of Zoom auditions. Just a quick question. How can brand new actors, especially people who don't live in LA yet, find auditions right now, especially since online auditioning is a thing?
Yes. Okay. I will say there seems to be an influx of new casting, like in like social media accounts, I would not do those. I would, within reason, I would rely on Actors Access. Actorsaccess.com is the kind of like the industry leader here. And that you'll see they have regions selected through Canada and I believe Mexico as well. And you can see all the audition postings in your area. And I will say from somebody who's working in casting that that is highly vetted to post on there. Another great resource in the industry kind of standard is casting networks, or in LA, we call it LA Casting, but around the nation, it is called casting networks. That now not only has commercial and print, it also has TV and film, where before it just kind of was like the industry thing for commercials and print in LA. Now it kind of covers all mediums. So those are the two biggest ones. There's also, I believe, 800 casting in the Southeast, I believe is a thing. And if you're in the UK, there's another website called Spotlight. I think Backstage is great. I think you're gonna find a lot of stuff on Backstage for local resources. I'll just say the only thing I will say from a casting perspective, I have to jump through a lot more. I had to jump through a lot more hoops to post on Actors Access or casting networks than I did on Backstage. So I would just say the vetting process is just tighter on the former two.
Especially along the lines of casting, you do photography, Actors Collective does photography. What do casters look for in a great headshot? What's the one most important thing, and what makes them breeze right past someone?
Lighting. I think your lighting is paramount. I really wish everyone could work in casting and realize, fam, you are a 1-inch by 1-inch thumbnail in a grid of about 50 to 100 actors. This right here is the most important thing, right? A square. It's a square, it's a square, it is a square. You want to create visual interest, and we need to see the whites of your eyes. If you are in shadow, or if any piece of you is in shadow, I understand there's some different ideologies about that, but we're not going to jump into, but I would say more than anything, if you are not centrally focused and lit, I'm going to breeze right past you, right? I think having 3-dimensional lighting, having a little bit of hair, this is called 3-point lighting here. I think that is also very important. You're going to see some of the biggest photographers in LA, like Michael Roud. That is a big signature statement for them because it works, right? It makes us go, oh, what is that? Another misconception, guys, I don't care if when you filmed, you shot your headshots or not, we got all of your head or just we gave you a little bit of a haircut. It doesn't matter because again, you're gonna get cropped into a square and your agent's gonna zoom it in and adjust it however they want to. You wanna know the rule of thirds, okay? If you're a square and your head is a dead ringer center and we have dead space above it, it looks weird and it looks like you're in a passport photo. I firmly believe something with a little bit of interest, something slightly off center is, and your eyes being in the first third is the most important thing. And I'm okay with a little bit of a haircut, right? I just think that I see too much dead space in photos and it just looks amateur to me. And I think I see a lot of lighting and a lot of shadows. And I think you should push your saturation just a little bit. If it's something brighter, sure, pull that back down if you're going in for AMC. I understand that. I understand that logic. Something grittier, darker, sure, but we can still see your face and we can still see your eyes. So there needs to be a catch light in your eyes, which is like, Glynis does that. It's a whole other conversation.
No, it's so good. And I think it speaks to the fact that like, it's a very rare local photographer or person who can.
I lost you, but I think I know where you're going with it. Are you there? I will say, if my connection is still coming through.
Yeah.
Are you there? I will say more than anything, someone can be an incredible portrait photographer or family photo photographer or wedding photographer, but if they're not used to catching people in authentic moments in time, I think that's a pitfall, right? And I think what we're shooting for our headshots is a very weird, breaking a lot of rules thing, but it's a very narrow thing that it just takes time. Working on the other side of the computer made me a better photographer because I knew exactly what catches my eye. Granted, guys, my palette may be totally different than the acting studio that's right next door, right? So everyone is totally different, but I would say those seems to be universal.
Yes, all of that and so much more. Thank you. How's my connection now?
Good.
Okay. So I just have a couple user questions that have come in, and then we have a little round of quick questions and fill in the blanks, which will be our fun ending. But the user question, what has been your favorite role and why?
What has been my favorite role? Hi, Kenneth, you did tape here yesterday.
Isn't that awesome?
You're part of this, it's so funny. Sorry, what was your question again?
No problem, it's so great. What has been your favorite role to play and why?
I got to play a guy named June in a movie called Listen. That meant a lot to me. He was on the spectrum, and we got to deal with so many incredible issues that are very authentic to what's happening with our youth. That was really important to me. And then I have a movie coming out called My True Fairy Tale that's based on a true story. Our director, Dimitri, lost his daughter and is kind of inspired by that. So that was really, really, really exciting for me. And full circle moment, I got a producer credit on that because I had worked my way up to that, and I got to have an ask, and my connections with casting really helped us. And then another project that I did for a platform, I actually ended up helping them cast my love interest because somebody had dropped out at the last minute. I had a facility, I worked in casting, I had my old casting profiles, and was able to get it done.
That's so cool. Who are your role models and why?
Who are my role models and why? That's such a hard one. And after years of therapy, I would like to say this. I would like to be my own role model. Truly. And I know that sounds hokey, but like I came in by, the skin of my teeth, and I always feel like I've always got to be the underdog. And that's really, I think that's really cool. It's something that I want to really honor.
That's awesome. Are you ready for your quick questions?
Yes.
Okay. Or fill in the blank. I don't know. I need to think of a catchy title with alliteration for questions
Right.
And fill in the blank. So success is?
Consistency.
Love it. You handle rejection by?
Laughing.
The biggest misconception about being a professional actor is?
How much time in front of the camera you're going to have and how many takes are going to be allotted in network TV.
Good one. The last great movie you watched is?
Funny thing, I prefer to watch documentaries. I know this isn't a quick fill in the blank, but McMillions or King of Kong, I think is called, about like Donkey Kong champions. And I think documentaries is like the best thing to do as an actor because you get to actually watch real people processing real events.
Total side, my thing, I shouldn't be talking this much, but I'm obsessed with comedians in cars getting coffee because it's like how comedy's actually made, that show, documentary style.
Yeah.
Your favorite food is?
Pizza.
Your favorite color is?
Blue.
If you could choose, I like this one. I'm surprising you with this one. I haven't sent it to you yet. If you could choose one song to hear every time you walked into a new room for the rest of your life, what song would you choose and why?
I don't know. Waving Through the Window from it's a musical from Dear Evan Hansen.
Okay. That's funny. That was a hard one. Putting you on the spot, which is good for actors, right?
Yes.
When you encounter a hateful person while working, you?
Smile and remember they could be having a really bad day.
Thank you for that. when someone says you can't do something you feel called to do, you
question why they're saying it. And if it's, and again, I look at data. I look at, is this a consistent feedback point that I've got? And then maybe there is something to glean, and I always try to extract the salt, a piece of salt from it.
So smart to take the good from it. The most empowering thing someone has said to you where performing is concerned is?
Bring your toothbrush to set.
That's silly. I like it.
Elizabeth Song, she played my mom this pilot that we did, and she's passed, but she's like an incredible Asian American actress who really kind of did like Joy Luck Club and like some incredible groundbreaking work. And she told me that day one, bring your toothbrush. So I always have. I think you're frozen. I think we had something about an audition.
Oh, give me 1 second.
Yep,
Yeah, you got it.
Perfect.
I think I'm still unstable. What's your top audition hack?
Power posing. Look up Power Posing by Amy Cuddy, AMYCUDDY. She has a TED talk about it, and it changes your cortisol and testosterone levels and things like that, and it helps you with anxiety and nerves.
She's amazing.
Yeah.
What is one actionable step those listening can take right now that will help them to get where you are?
I thought I had an answer for this. I would say film yourself and watch yourself. And if that means you are just reading your lines and you're holding for the other person, fine. If you have somebody on FaceTime, fine. Somebody on the phone, fine. Record it yourself and try to space it out and drive yourself crazy doing it, fine. Watch yourself. It's fascinating, again, owning a self-tape studio, how many people are like, oh God, I don't want to watch myself. Like, what? You're auditioning for Marvel. You're gonna, you know what I mean? Like, everyone's gonna watch you. Watch yourself. You're gonna learn. And I think that would be my biggest thing.
That's amazing advice. Mark, thank you so much for this. You've given so much wisdom and fun and everything. Can you let everyone watching know how they can work with you and find the Actors Collective?
Yeah, so we are doing virtual services now. So we are doing that. And we have a $20 drop-in on-camera self-tape salon where we work on-camera sides and audition technique as well as self-taping technique. And then we have some accountability stuff and follow-ups midweek as well. It's $20. You just sign up on the website and come see us. I mean, we're doing some smaller appointments now with COVID, but we're still excited to have you in, and we're trying to be as healthy as possible.
Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for tuning in, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks so much, Mark.
You're welcome. Bye.